Are y'all ready to market? No, that sounds so dumb. I'm not. I'm never ready to market, but we've got to do it right. It's hard to sell stuff if you don't market. And a lot of you have asked me for marketing advice, to which my first response is always, let's try to get serious. Let's try to figure out marketing with some real data. Hello, my name is Lydia Foxglove, and I am a fantasy author. I've been making my living as a novelist since 2009, so of course I have dabbled in quite a bit of marketing. But a lot of my career has probably been founded on good timing more than anything, which is good timing isn't purely an accident usually. It's because I studied the market and tried to nail what was hot at the time. And that method is still probably the best way to sell books, is to just study the market and manage to hit the thing that people want. But it can also be hard to hit the market so perfectly that you don't need to do a whole lot of marketing for people to buy your book and get excited about it. The vast majority of us must market. And even though I've had a long career, I currently have somewhat unusual circumstances because I took 2 years mostly off from writing. My father-in-law passed away and he left us a house full of collectibles. They were all covered in smoky dust. Under all that, once I sorted it all out, there was a lot of stuff to sell, so I ended up kind of being an eBayer for 2 years, more so than a writer. In that time, I released 4 books, and I really didn't market them at all because I was so overwhelmed by the eBay stuff. And then I also planned during this time off that I was going to kind of pivot my career somewhat away from like more steamy romance and more into my true love, which is fantasy. Although I do write romantic fantasy, it is more in the tradition of like Mercedes Lackey, Sharon Shin, Lois McMaster Bujold, authors like that, rather than like the current hot romantasy authors. So it's not always easy to market, and it also means that all the audience I'd built up, a lot of them had already dropped off because I wasn't around for 2 years, and then I pivoted away from like steamy fantasy romance to more like traditional, fantasy with a romance. Long story short, I'm not entirely starting from scratch, but this is a big reboot. And I just came out with my first real release in a long time on May 15th, The Broken Queen, an epic fantasy that is set in my fantasy world I've been writing about for 30 years. And it is about Atora, who is a Phenarlum, which is kind of a doll person. They are created as somewhat of a slave race, and she has been raised to be a concubine. But she is actually the reincarnation of the Queen of the Dragon Kingdom, and she has a special power. Of course she does. We love a special power in fantasy. So the Dragon King finds her in enemy territory. They don't have doll people, slaves in the Dragon Kingdom at all. She's very foreign to him, and they have to learn to adapt to each other and new cultures, and she learns about her powers. There's a shadow on the kingdom that killed his parents, because of course it did. So anyway, this is my new release. It's been out for a month now, and really the only marketing that I did was send it to my pre-existing socials, which again were fairly cold, as well as talking about it on this YouTube channel. And I think most of my sales have come from YouTube. So the first thing I'm going to do is tell you my numbers for the first month of sales of The Broken Queen based on YouTube. And I'm going to have Editing Lydia, who will probably be disheveled, pop in and tell you those numbers. Because as I film this, I'm not quite at the month mark, and I want to give you the actual full month numbers. So I'm going to pop that in a few days. Disheveled Editing Lydia here with the numbers. So far The Broken Queen has made $587.52 in its first month. But I can tell you right now that like it started off pretty well, and then it's been tapering off. And the good thing about YouTube marketing is that I'm actually making money on YouTube, and I'm not spending any money on marketing. But would I recommend YouTube as a way to market books? Not really, because I'm treating YouTube right now like it's like a 3 full-time days a week job. So like a serious part-time job. And I know a lot of my channel growth has come from the fact that I took a lot of time to research YouTube before I started the channel. I invested in some equipment, and perhaps most importantly, the audience really seemed to respond to how long I've been writing and all the experience I've built up, which, if you're a new author, it might be a little harder to establish a YouTube channel. And I've still been like gobsmacked by how well this channel has done. And yeah, it's not selling like a crazy amount of books. So YouTube has worked out well, but as a marketing channel, a lot of time going into not a whole lot of sales. So here's my plan. Because I have savings and I have YouTube income and I have a big back catalog that's still making a little bit of money. My situation is a little unusual right now. So I have the time to do like a very slow, methodical marketing plan just so that I can show you guys what kind of results I get with each method in isolation. Normally when you're marketing a book, you would not like try this method, then stop that, then try this method, then stop that. You would throw a lot of things out there all at once. But what I'm going to try to do is devote 2 to 4 weeks to each of the most common marketing methods and report back with my results, what I spent and what kind of sales I saw as a result. And you will see what my baseline was before I started each experiment. And results can vary hugely across different platforms. So my results are not necessarily going to be the same as what a different book would get, but it will give you an idea of just the variety of results that you can get, what you would end up spending, and how each of them work. I'm also going to keep the budgets fairly small because I'm trying to kind of duplicate the experience of being a new author, not having a whole lot of money to throw at a book. So in this video, I'm just going to go over the marketing methods that I'm going to experiment with and tell you a little bit about each of them. These are the main marketing methods for books. Now, that doesn't mean there aren't other things that you can do, and sometimes the offbeat marketing methods work out better because they're things the author thought of and they're very like authentic to them, individual to what they write. On the other hand, sometimes those are the worst. So, like anything else, you can try other things, but it's good to bear in mind the cost in time and money and brain power. So most marketing methods are going to cost you one of the following: money, time, or organizational skill. And what that means is that it might not take a lot of money or time, but it will require you to be very on the ball. So first we have marketing methods that take your money. And of these, first is Amazon pay-per-click ads. Amazon ads are accessible through the KDP dashboard, and the way that they work is you will either put in keywords pertinent to your book, or you will let Amazon find the keywords for you, and then you will put in a bid amount, and you'll be competing with everyone else in the marketplace to bid to have your book placed in like those little bars of books that appear under other books and other just ad placement spots on Amazon. This was my main marketing method for years, and then it started getting more and more expensive, and Amazon started denying more of the organic visibility, so that it was like the only way you could get visibility was to pay for ads. Therefore, you had to buy more ads to get the same amount of visibility. So Amazon ads have not been working as well for me as they used to. It's getting much harder to make a profit, but they're still widely used, and I'm still going to try them. Facebook ads are another pay-per-click ad. In this case, I've heard they've done some changes recently with like AI, and a lot of people have been complaining about it. So I'm going to be doing a little research when I do the Facebook ads video. And obviously on Facebook, you are paying to get your ad in the feed on Facebook, which now it seems like Facebook is all ads and like communities I haven't joined and don't care about. But you're paying for attention there, and you can also buy Instagram ads at the same time if you like. You can either click that option or not. So that's like the meta ads. Facebook ads are a little more complicated than Amazon ads. They can have good results. I would not call myself an expert on Facebook ads, and chances are if you're new, you're not going to feel like an expert on Facebook ads either. So when I get to that video, we will just be fumbling around together. It seems like the people who are best at Facebook ads take a Facebook ads course, but even then it's always changing, which is one reason I've never paid for a Facebook ads course. Also, Facebook ads get very annoying around election time and around the holidays, so I might tackle Facebook ads first just to give myself the largest possible time before the election. Then we also have BookBub pay-per-click ads. If you sign up for the BookBub newsletter, which is kind of a giant in the indie marketing world, as well as the traditional publishing marketing world for that matter, traditional publishers also use BookBub. It's a newsletter that will tell you daily discounted books. And at the end of the newsletter is a ad. Those are the ads that people are buying as a pay-per-click. You have to design the ad, which is the same as Facebook. And because BookBub is a discount newsletter, I'm a little hesitant to advertise a full price book on BookBub. I've generally heard that it's best to do when you have a book on sale, but The Broken Queen is in Kindle Unlimited at the moment, which means it is free to anyone who has Kindle Unlimited, so I might give it a little bit of a try just to see. And more on BookBub in a minute. And then another method that you would be paying for is like a book tour, an influencer tour, where you're paying like Instagram influencers, Bookstagram, book talkers, etc. to show off your book in their feed. Sometimes they might read it. The ones I paid for, I had to send them a copy of the book and they don't have to read or review it, but they do have to make a pretty post about it. I have not had great luck with these, and I would probably only do it if I was extremely confident in a release and I really wanted to just blanket the marketplace. I had a little money to burn because I knew that it was going to do well and that people were really excited about it. I'm not usually that confident about my books, so I would not do this at the moment, but there might come a time. If I felt like I had an excited, warm audience all over the internet already, and you're marketing kind of a known commodity, then it might be worth paying for a book tour. But if you're a newbie, I probably wouldn't pay for one. If you can make connections on your own on Instagram or Book Talk that are just organic and you're not paying them, then that's great, but that takes some schmooze factor. Then you have the methods that take up your time. YouTube is obviously one of those, and it's where I put my attention. Posting regularly on Instagram, posts, reels, networking there. That can be very effective, but you have to keep up with it and you have to have a strategy. And TikTok, similar. I will definitely be trying a consistent Instagram posting schedule for a month to see if that does anything. I don't know if I'll try TikTok because I don't even have TikTok on my phone. I hate TikTok. I'm just not connected with it. And generally, I would not advise you to market on a platform that you don't use, you don't want to use, you really know nothing about. But some people cross-post their reels and TikToks, so just using the same footage, maybe changing the length a little depending on requirements. So I could do something like that, watch this space to see what I do with that. But I'll definitely do Instagram. And then you have your mailing list. Your mailing list is both time and organization. If you can post regularly to your mailing list, then that's great. I often struggle to think up what to post on my mailing list that wouldn't just work better on YouTube or Instagram. But some people really have the knack for the mailing list. And a lot of this is about what platform are you really feeling? What platform do you like the best? Either way, it's worth building a newsletter. A lot of people have a free book or a free short story or a free epilogue or a free sexy scene, whatever fits your book or whatever you feel like you can accomplish. That is a mailing list magnet. And you can set it up so that when people join your mailing list, they get an automated email with the magnet attached. And then at the end of each one of your books and on all your social media profiles, you will say, join my mailing list to get, a free short story about such and such. That will get you a steady flow of people to your mailing list. My mailing list strategy changed a bit because I moved from MailChimp, which is more traditional businessy email where you're paying for your subscribers, to Substack where you're trying to get subscriptions, but it's free. Generally, I just felt more comfortable on Substack. It felt more easy to use and more like a blog rather than MailChimp really felt like a business email. And every time I tried to do it, I would feel kind of confused and frozen. And there's all this advice about what you're supposed to do on your business email, like having a whole like welcome sequence that's automated that will send people like a series of emails, kind of warming them up to your books, giving them maybe another freebie, telling them about some of your books. You can also have automated emails that send out periodically, just like spotlighting one of your books. If you're good at organization, then you can really work that mailing list. But my brain, like, no, I'm bad at that. So I have not made use of that, and Substack has been a much better fit for me. Then as you build your mailing list, another type of marketing you can do is the mailing list swap. You can find mailing list swap opportunities either on BookFunnel or on different like Facebook groups and other reader groups. BookFunnel is a website. It is an annual subscription. There might be a monthly plan, but I have an annual subscription, and it has integration with mailing lists to give away free books, as well as like a section of the website where you can find these swaps with mailing lists. People will get on there and list like, I have a cozy fantasy swap. I have 20 slots open. You know, your mailing list needs to have 1,000 people, and you know, there might be some requirements, sometimes not. You can check it periodically and sign up for swaps that sound like they would be a good fit for you. You can also do individual mailing list swaps with people on author groups. You can just post and say, hey, I have a new release. Does anybody want to do a swap? You mention it in your mailing list. They mention it in their mailing list. Again, I have not made great use of my mailing list because I am just not that organized. I am not good at scatterbrained activity. I am somebody who hyper focuses on one thing at a time, and it is much easier for me to focus deeply on one platform like YouTube and just make sure that I'm posting consistently to YouTube and planning out my YouTube posts, and then not focus on anything else. But some people are much better at organization, and eventually you might even hire a personal assistant to do that stuff for you. So I will try to see if I can book some mailing list swaps just for the sake of this experiment. Maybe some people will have pity on my lack of organizational skills and will accept me doing a YouTube video where I tell everyone about their books and how their mailing lists did, rather than me putting out a bunch of mailing lists. But either way, I will figure it out. And I'm probably not going to do any like broad like multi-author swaps, because those are another marketing method that you generally would do when you have a book on sale, like you're promoting your book one at 99 cents or free, but you have 2 or 3 more books in the same series. You're hoping to make your money on those. This is just my first book. I mean, my first book in this series. So I'm not doing any general marketing swaps. And there are also paid newsletters, of which BookBub is the biggest. These paid newsletters, which I should have mentioned back in the paid part, but I didn't, because this is another thing I would only do when I've like completed a trilogy, for example, and I would then market the first book free or maybe 99 cents. I would apply for a BookBub, but BookBub is very picky. They only put like 1 or at most 2 books from each genre in their newsletter every day. So they reject a lot of books. Their results are pretty solid usually, and they also really prefer books to be wide on all the platforms, not exclusive to Amazon. So I'm also not going to do that right now because The Broken Queen is in Kindle Unlimited for now. And then there's all the other promo sites, of which I have found the best results with FreeBooksy. I think that it is the best, most organized mailing list site outside of BookBub. I've generally always at least broken even with FreeBooksy, so that's the main one I use when I can't get a BookBub or when I just want to like do a quick little promo. It's usually like $100 flat. Their newsletter is pretty big. It's attractively organized. So I do like FreeBooksy. And there are some others I use now and then as well. But that will not be part of this marketing round, not until I finish book 2. There are also things like Facebook group takeovers, or, you know, you can do marketing via networking, where you do like, you appear on an author group or reader group. That's usually something you have to kind of book A lot of Facebook groups have like a process for how you would book a takeover, but it's usually free, except you're usually expected to do like giveaways. They take a lot of time, and I have really never seen very good results. So I don't do takeovers anymore, but again, it depends on what you write and also how confident you are that this book is going to be big and how much you enjoy that particular method of marketing. Then there are some things that may be considered marketing, but to me are not like quite in the same category. There's doing a Kickstarter. This has been popular lately for like special editions, sprayed edges, character art, hardcover. A lot of people have been doing the special edition. That's something that I would not bother with until the book is already doing well. Actually, that's probably something I wouldn't bother with at all because, I don't know, I have mixed feelings about the whole just consumerist aspect of like special editions and how many there are right now. And it's also very time consuming to find like artists to do the artwork and set up all that stuff. That's another thing where you have to be very organized, and I'm not very organized, so I don't know if I'll ever do a special edition Kickstarter, but that is something that some people love to do. There's Patreon, which again, that's to me less of a marketing method and more of a way to like hold and get more money out of your audience. But you need people that really want to be there. You need to be offering something of value and for people to see you as someone they really want more of. So Patreon, there's also Ream, which is another similar to Patreon, but it's for authors and books specifically. Patreon and Ream are a good idea if you're starting to see interest, you're starting to see like real fans, and you want to have a place to allow those fans to network and to give them like those little extra tidbits that you might not give everyone, that every fan might not care about. But here's a place that you can give them all the little short stories and extras, and you can get extra fan art. You could send them little things in the mail, whatever it is that excites you. You can do that on Patreon. Then there are appearances at like, local signings, book festivals, book conventions. That is another thing I would not really do unless I already had a fan base. Then I might start looking at going to conventions if I like traveling, which I don't, but most people don't make like a ton of money. Like at best you might break even and cover your hotel room and your plane ticket. But that's more of a thing that you do so that you can just meet people, both your fellow authors and fans. It's not something that you would do like because this is going to make or break your career. You also have like direct sales methods, like setting up a website where you sell books directly, or a TikTok shop where you can offer signed books. You could offer signed books on Patreon, Facebook, kind of adding more of that bonus content to people who really love your books. Another thing that to me is not really a marketing method as much as a way to deliver to fans that you already have, something you would do when you have a warm audience. But I've heard that some people are doing really well with TikTok shops, so I wanted to mention it as another possibility that I will not be doing. And then you have just all the other little things that you might do, and the best marketing is always word of mouth. If people are excited enough about what you're doing that they are spontaneously telling other people about it, that is the best kind of marketing you can get. And that's where the best thing that you can do is to have a good brand. And that is where I really struggled for most of my career because I was writing to trend. And ideally, you should be writing to trend and develop a strong brand around the trend. But I found it very difficult because I just wasn't like super passionate about what I was writing to trend. I liked it. I enjoyed writing it. It definitely had like some of me in it. But I had this fantasy world that I've been writing about for decades, and like my heart is always with that fantasy world. Anything else just kind of feels like you had the love of your life and now you're dating a guy who's just like, he's nice. So it was really hard for me to build an authentic brand around something that wasn't my true love. Now I feel like I'm finally at the point where I'm being a lot more authentic on social media because I'm finally writing those books that I really care about. But as I expected, it's kind of like a very slow and steady build to sell those books rather than like just an easy sell that a trendy book would be. But if you can build a brand, if you can be your most authentic self, or at least a very entertaining fake self, then that will really help. If you can get people to really like you, it really does help. I've really seen the difference on YouTube because I get comments that are like, I love your videos, you're so entertaining, I'm gonna buy your book now. Where I get the sense people are buying my books because they like me, and then I have to figure that if they like the book and they like me, that there's gonna be a little bit more of a level of loyalty to my brand than if it was just like, oh, I liked these books, but I don't know anything about this person. And the reason I definitely feel that was true is because when I think about my favorite authors when I was a kid, especially, they always had a very personal component. The ElfQuest comics had the letter section and the editorial letter. They had that whole culture around the comic. And then the Xanth books by Piers Anthony, he always had like a whole letter in the back to his fans, like updating them on his life, and he would solicit puns from the readers and he would work them into the books. And when I was more of like a reader and a fan than I was a writer, like I loved that stuff. I felt so connected to the author. So the whole time I've known that it's really good if you can get people to like you and not just your books. But, you know, it does mean you have to give a little more of yourself than you might want to. That was something that I hesitated with for a long time, and I feel like I kind of had to like hit my 40s and feel a little less inhibited and nervous in general. So, you know, I'm just telling you, there's a lot of challenges to some of the most effective marketing methods, but, you know, I'm always real with you about what works, even if we don't like it. So that's kind of my rundown on all the marketing methods that I could think of that are commonly used and known. And to give you a quick recap, the ones that I'm planning to go over in more detail in future videos are, at the very least, Amazon ads, Facebook ads, Instagram, mailing list swaps, and I might also do TikTok and BookBub ads. And then when the series is done, I might go back and do a couple of the other methods that are most effective when you have a completed series. In these future videos, I will get into more depth about what I'm spending, what my results are, and how these advertising methods work. If you have done any other kind of advertising that has worked well for you, or if you've had any helpful experience with any of these advertising methods I'd mentioned, or if you have any questions about them, feel free to drop it in the comments. If there's another method of advertising you'd love to see me cover in depth and experiment with, also let me know. I can't guarantee that I will do it depending on what it is, but I'm at least open to considering it. I really hope this was helpful. Thank you so much for being here. If you want to have more in-depth discussion on writing and marketing, you can always join my Discord, which is available with my $5 Patreon tier, link in the description. I am wishing you all the best with all of your creative endeavors, your marketing plans, your branding, your life in capitalism, and I will see you next time. Bye.